welcome to another episode of A Ghost in the Magazine. I'm Steph.
And I'm Elle.
And I'm Al.
And okay, this episode we're covering the end of the end of Interview with the Vampire, the series, and Rich got a lot to say about the end of this. Okay, at the end of the last episode that we recorded, Elle was talking about somebody who was going to appear at the end of the series, and I guessed it was Armand. We're not going to start there, but I got to tell you that I literally texted her, not me, yelling, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, 30 times.
To just interject a little bit.
I know.
I saw that shit coming in episode motherfucking 2 when we're standing by a painting and it's Marius de Romanis. I saw that fucking shit coming, and then my brother threw me off the course because he told me Armand was coming in, but he acted like it was a new character. How dare he?
How dare he?
No, but he threw me off the scent, so it was a good thing.
Okay, still. So...
Yeah, I didn't see it coming, and I, squealed when the reveal happened, and my neighbor texted me, and I was like, hey, it's 3 a.m., can you, calm down? I was like, no, you don't understand. I was like, you don't understand.
I will not, and I refuse, and you need to understand, okay? This is a monumental situation over here, okay? So, last episode, I mentioned some things about Lestat and Louis' relationship being kind of cheesy, not in a way that I didn't like, but then also Claudia coming off as extra cheesy, and it was throwing me off a little bit. However, that just completely, all of it gets flipped upside down towards the end of it, and I don't feel that way anymore. So one thing I thought was funny though, and kind of went along with their very homosexual relationship and very valid relationship, is how hard Lestat tried to gain back Louis' affections after literally, I guess I chose the term mollywopping to lessen the brutalness that I did feel watching those. I don't know about you, Al, but it was very jarring for me.
Yeah, this is uncomfortable in a way that has not been uncomfortable through the series yet. It was a whole new, the dial went up, and I didn't know where it was going after that.
For sure. And he tries hard. He brings him gifts. He calls. He rings. He buys him a fancy car. It's actually a little awkward. And he tried this shit for 6 years. If he's nothing else, he's a persistent bitch.
He knows how to wait. He's old. He can do that.
Yeah, he's old as hell. But Claudia was not. She said, miss me with this shit. Bear me. And she did not trust Lestat after that, which you shouldn't ever trust Lestat. No, what I think is strange, and I would really like input here, is his relationship with Antoinette.
Yeah.
Because he has her for a long time, but no one else is allowed to do that shit.
I knew that there was the whole oh, you need to get rid of her. I was like, there's no way he's not going to. If he's had her this long and she hasn't questioned it, something is going on.
At what point did he turn her into a vampire? I don't think that's clear, but I don't even like her. I'm not sure why he needs her. Well, I know why he ends up needing her, but I just don't.
Do you think, though, that Antoinette was really a pawn in his long game, or do you think that it was more that he is so vain that if he has somebody that is fawning over him that way, he's going to keep her around until it becomes a problem for him?
I think it's probably him being so vain, because he does talk about that. It's he gets bored with it and he's just oh, then I'm going to kill him. And so it's one of those things that it seems very much like she is useful and she dotes on him and she likes him, and there's that loyalty there that is just unwavering. He's oh, I can use this. The timeline skips ahead so far that it's hard to tell, because she doesn't age, so it's hard to tell when it actually happened. So I'm did it happen when he took her finger? Is that why he was able?
Which is fucked up.
Yeah, right.
Of him taking her finger. When
someone else's
showed that,
finger.
I was are you fucking kidding? But he is an abusive individual.
Yeah.
Even to those who show him affection, whatever. And now that you guys are saying that about Antoinette, I'm sure it's to have someone to dote on him. I know he loves Louis, deeply, but he can get this from Antoinette without questioning her loyalty and also without having to deal with Claudia, who he's very openly you're fucking annoying. You're getting on my nerves.
Well, and he probably feels like Antoinette is his Claudia, even though he's fucking her. He probably still feels like it's about even in his twisted head because Louis has Claudia.
Lestat's bad at math. They are not the same.
He's bad at a lot of things, let's be
really,
honest.
Yeah.
Except being handsome and terrifying. He's really good at that.
Those are his strong points.
So fashionable.
My God, I just realized what your background is. It scared me. Please cover Tom Cruise. I'm offended.
I'm going to. That was my thing.
Shift your seat, madam. Brad Pitt's Louis and Jacob Anderson's Louis are so okay. The eyes, the eyes, they're so strikingly good looking and sympathetic and the best versions, honestly, of the vampires. I think Louis is the best vampire. I think you chose right, Elle, your vampire boyfriend.
But, are you telling me that you chose Lestat? Is that what you're telling me here?
I never chose Lestat. Yeah.
You know, I like this Armand, but
I do too.
I do too.
Antonio Banderas not doing it for me.
No, we're not bringing him into this conversation because all I feel is wrong. You don't even give him a ginger wig. You don't even try. You just ask Zorro.
Exactly.
It was definitely a film of its time.
Yes, but so disrespectful. You know that Anne co-signed that shit too, but we forgive her because hello, this, and you know, hilarious.
Yeah.
Even though we've been talking mad shit lately.
That's what happens when you read fucking Mayfair. You can't help it.
Al, did you read that?
Not yet. That's on my to watch list. I have a couple days left on my AMC trial, so I'm starting the series tonight. I'm gonna start the book as soon as I finish Queen of the Damned. I'm using my copy of my Anne Rice collection to hold up my laptop right now.
Mine is literally
as
right underneath. As one does. If you need someone to hold your hand while you're reading that shit, tag us in because it's the bumpy ride. So I said it's grotesquely crazy for Lestat to write a song for Louis with Antoinette. Like that's just fucking fine. Come back to me, baby. Excuse me. That's a fuckboy move if ever there was one. And I would have been the same thing. Louis busted into that room. They're booty butt naked. Lestat is just like,
I know you just
did you like that? Did you like that shit? Did you? And Louis dripping wet, pissed, raging, and then they hate bang while Antoinette's crying outside.
That was the one time I felt bad for her. I was like, oh, that's not. She had nowhere to go. She was stuck.
No. He said, get the fuck out. And she was like, this is my house. And Lestat's like, go on, get. Incredible. I feel bad for her, but honestly, she chased Lestat for like a long time. Girl, he took your finger. He never put you first. He never chose you. He pity chose you because no one else would listen to him. And that's what you get. You just choose badly. She chose the wrong vampire boyfriend. And the other thing was the appropriate story of how Lestat was made. Because as soon as he said his name was Magnus, I was like, yes, his name was Magnus.
So all my notes are loaded for the finale.
Okay, I don't know where the finale starts because I started like a quarter of the way into episode 6 when I started taking notes because I had started it and I just didn't go in. But Claudia laid some conditions to like us being a happy family. I'm your sister. I'm not your child. It's fucking weird. I'm 36 years old at this point. I'm not a doll. You're going to put some respect on my name or I'm going to make your life super fucking difficult. Lestat hates it, but I mean like he's not good at compromise. He's very selfish and they also want him to kill Antoinette, which he won't do. And I am surprised that she didn't kill Antoinette anyway, but it's all part of her master plan. Because I feel like if she didn't have the plan to kill Lestat, she would have killed that hoe and just suffered the consequences. But then she does this other thing that I find hilarious because I love the racial things that they put in here, like killing the white man, Colonel Sanders, motherfucker, and putting the whites only sign on him. I love how she is constantly ragging on him and calling him massa because I mean really he's behaving as such. He is a white man and he is overlording both of them and they both happen to be black at a time where that shit's not okay and Lestat's not going to put that aside to be less than who he is. And then okay, so the train thing, was that in, I think that was still in episode 6, like the end of episode 6?
Our poor lovely interviewer fell asleep in the middle of the conversation. That's how it ended.
Okay, so this is very pivotal and Claudia wants Louis to just run away with her and he's not going to do it because he is falling back in love with Lestat. Well, I don't think he ever fell out of love, but like that's a really scary dynamic there. So she just goes alone and the thing that made me super emotional about this before Lestat even shows up into the equation is how they show her, she's in steerage with her book trying to avoid the ticket taker because she is black. And Louis says if anybody deserved a seat to watch like the beautiful countryside going by, she did. That's where she deserved to be. And unfortunately, she couldn't. And it said that the white people rode up front, the black people rode in the back, except for the black reporter, and the Negro vampire made do with what was left. And those barbs that they keep putting in here, even though Claudia and Louis are supernatural, and even before Louis was supernatural, he was a, somewhat respected figure in the community, they're still so hindered because of the color of their skin. The colorism thing, even, like, they're light skin, even. And it is a fact that light skinned Black people were treated better than dark skinned people. And, they still had to deal with what they did. Lestat couldn't even let her leave. And he showed up. He had the ticket guy's head and he was using it as a puppet, which sometimes I forget that I'm watching a horror show, and then these jarring elements show up, and he's a monster, dude, and he drags her back.
The dog licking the blood off of his hands was just so... I made my skin crawl.
No, for sure. And there were several moments where I just had my mouth open watching this.
And the slow burn of it all is just, it's incredible.
For sure. And what a way to end and start the finale. And the thing is that Lestat, I feel like he really digs his own grave in this situation, because if he wasn't so full of himself and just let Claudia go, he didn't want her around anyway. But he's like, no, Louis is suffering without you. I don't want anybody to be happy. At his core, he doesn't like to be abandoned.
Well, it's not just that. He likes to control, too. And I feel like her getting out from under his finger was a big problem for him. So that opening scene was really well shot, because we had this internal monologue from Louis, and it's pulling back on Lestat, because he's talking about, like, the theoretical ways to kill Lestat, because Lestat's obviously a monster. And Lestat's sitting there, he's got this man with his arm over a vial, and he's just, like, draining blood out of this guy. And it zooms out and shows the victim, which is, like, a visual representation of both Lestat's power and its cost, as Louis is talking over the theoretical ways that they could end him by, like, cutting off his head or catching him on fire. And then it zooms further out and you see Claudia and Louis sitting there at the end of the table, just like as all this stuff is going on. And there's just this voiceover that continues, like, could they really do it? Is it possible that his children could turn on him and actually land this thing? It was a very well done scene.
Yeah, like the facial acting from Lestat during that thing where he's like sitting there with the wine or the blood and indulging in the smell, like, just enjoying the euphoria of it all as the narration and the slow zoom. It was perfect.
He's a sicko.
True.
Sorry, he's a fucking sicko.
This depiction versus the OG movie, the prissy baby boy depiction, is so much more terrifying and so much more on par with the way that the books are, because Lestat is a absolute monster in the books. I mean, you see the justification for how he becomes that way. I mean, I guess justification's a bad word, but like the story, you see how he's made.
And it's not ideal. It's not the ideal situation.
I just feel like this is so much more on par with the dread and terror of what Lestat is.
Yes. I said several times, Lestat is so scary. And he, like, almost lulls you the same way that Louis is back into being like, but he's just so fucking dapper. He's so charming. Like, he entrances people and he spins in these dreams. It never lasts.
It's so hard not to be, like, enthralled, especially with the performance, because it's like any other actor in that role, and I don't think they could have captured it the same way.
No.
It's just incredible. It feels slimy, but at the same time, it's like, wow, this is very seductive, and I can't quite find the line. He walks it so well. It's good.
We were just bullshitting before we started recording and talking about that exact thing. He and Louis both, the casting is just... I feel like in the last episode, Claudia too. Claudia really stepped into the essence of Claudia in this last episode. And so maybe seeing that now, there was a purpose for everything, the way that she was acting in the previous episodes. And now she's a strong, independent vampire who don't need no massa. And she's going to do what she wants to do. And it's very clear because she taunts the shit out of him to the end. And she and Louis are trying to be careful careful while they're communicating telepathically about the planet, and she won't tell him. She's so like strong in this last episode. I'm like very proud of her, even though I don't condone killing, whatever. But like, they weren't going to be able to have any other existence with Lestat being there. And honestly, I don't know. This was the best option for freedom. And I thought another super scary scene was her refusing to finish the chess game. And it just really shows how bratty he can be, and also murders.
That scene was amazing.
I feel like that brattiness is far more in line with the books versus the petulant brattiness that we saw in the movie. It's another level. It's manipulative, it's entitled, it's all of those things. And like Lestat, he's still poetic despite being slimy as fuck. He's like a sim with the charisma maxed out. So
I love that you just said that to me.
Well, and again, I think it also shows the growth of both like Claudia and Lestat, because like for her, she was so young when she got turned, and you can see her start to turn into a woman despite not maturing. And Lestat is still stuck in that like bratty, childish point, and it just shows the dynamic between the two of them, which I think is again that slow burn development over the time of the brattiness shifts from her and just gets worse for him.
And I think that's because he sees himself in her. I think they are very alike.
Oh yeah,
they're very similar.
Oh yeah, literally, he's the personification of that Miley Cyrus song "Can't Be Tamed." That's this bitch. No one's gonna trap me. I hold the cards. I'm the boss. To his detriment.
Yes,
so before
absolutely.
the plan to enact her plan, she wants to do a ball, a Mardi Gras ball, and she's gonna poison one of the bitches there and feed them to Lestat. So before that, there is a flashback scene to young Daniel, Louis and Rashid. They look the same. However, Louis's got this flat top going on. And then young Daniel, honestly, reminded me of Michael Curry. He had like these dark curls, and I was like, he could literally be Michael Curry's Mayfair bitch. So like, sorry for that, but like, we're not simping for Danny anyway.
Yeah.
And
that
then
casting was
like,
great though.
So good. I don't remember what was happening, but Lestat was just like talking because he talks a lot. And he mentioned those who must be kept. And I literally shrieked and almost jumped out of my fucking body. And I'm like, show me Akasha. Show her to me. I'm dying to see them.
I hope that they keep this going and don't get canceled. I would like to see all of them. I want to see Lestat sucking blood out of a pad like he does in Midnight the Devil.
Yeah, I want to see well, that's not why I want to see that one. That one's my favorite book in the Chronicles, because also he goes back and meets Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, that's psychotic. Who did Anne think she was? The most audacious.
The thing about Anne Rice that you gotta love is like you never expect the way she goes with things. Like the craziest shit you could think of, all of a sudden, it's just there.
Yes, it really inspires me as a writer. I haven't been doing much writing lately, but we're revisiting all this stuff. I'm like back in that mindset that I was when I did my most writing, and I'm like, she really inspires me to write whatever the fuck I want to write. Someone's gonna read it.
The Beauty's Punishment, like that whole like weird series that she did that was just like a fairy tale, like spicy, smutty adult take
on the list.
Fairy tales. Yeah, I picked up the first two because I work at a used bookstore. Someone was like, "Oh, hey, have you seen these other Anne Rice things?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, the what now?"
Yeah,
I bought them so fast.
She also like she did this metamorphosis with being like an atheist and then being a reborn again Christian and then being something else. So I'm sure at some point she's just like, let me just be someone else and like sequester this piece of myself and my writing over here, which is kind of bananas now that I'm reading Mayfair. Though just put it under your name, sister.
Right,
just go ahead.
You're not gonna write anything more shameful than chapter 6 of The Witching Hour. That's the most shameful thing you've ever written. You did that under your actual name with your whole fucking chest right there. Just saying.
With your whole chest. And it took my best friend a week and a half to get through that.
Yes! It took me so long because I kept getting so mad because I'm like, this is so gross. Why?
It takes a special kind of person to be able to just like write like that and then not care. It's inspirational.
Absolutely.
And also slightly like, do I ever want to cross that line myself?
I do.
Yes,
100%.
I do. That's why we're best friends. Yup. When they're in the movie theater and that man kept trying to shush Lestat gives him the devil eyes and makes him slap the shit out of himself repeatedly.
Nobody else seemed to really care. It was great.
No, you probably deserved it. You know what I mean? You're sick of him shushing also.
I thought there was like an interesting thing he said there where he was talking about the Nazis, saying that they were nasty little beasts but had excellent tailoring. And it just reminded me, I'm a leftist media nerd and I will like listen to all kinds of stuff, but Alex Jones had a Kanye West interview where he was trying to use like the Nazis tailoring to explain away why Kanye was saying the yikes shit he was saying, and that's what that made me think of.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
Again,
Okay.
when you have no substance and you're all appearance, that's all I'm saying.
Literally. He says another thing that they say in the book that made me happy. Let the flesh instruct the mind. But don't do that in life. You know, like that's gonna get you into trouble. Only do that if you're a vampire, I guess. When Lestat wanted to be the queen of Mardi Gras, I thought that scene was awful. And apparently so did everybody else when he ate the fake baby, but it was very jiggly and realistic and like the streamer blood flying. I just probably would have lost my marbles if I was there in the crowd to see him eat that jiggly baby. Respectfully.
Disrespectfully. Fuck that. Yeah.
No, it's awful. It's obscene.
So they have this scheme of putting these boutonnieres on anyone who they decide they're going to make part of their little finale. One interesting thing, they said amaranth. Oh, that's nice. Symbolically, amaranth is immortality. I thought that was a cute touch. They had a few of those in this episode. They also had so much like poetic writing in the voiceovers, the veins and arteries of a few hundred hearts ringing out like air raid sirens. That was a good line. There was some good shit there.
It's so pretty, but then that makes me like more scared, honestly. Like this is a giant murderous painting. It's a big old opera. They're putting on a show for themselves.
And it's specifically tailored to Lestat because this is all like tradition for the people of New Orleans, you know? It's like their thing that they've been doing for however long. But they're all dressed like Lestat's actual time period, pretty much. He's got a hard on. He's got a huge hard on during this whole thing. Come on.
And he was very pretty in the makeup, like the white makeup with the rosy pink cheeks. It's very dramatic. The powdered wig. He was so beautiful.
All
so was
three
Louis.
of them, their costumes, like Claudia's costume was gorgeous. And I just loved that they were like the only ones in white compared to everyone else who was in the black. And so they really stood out in the sea of everything else, and especially in the Whispering Gallery was such a gorgeous set piece, and they just stood out against the colors. It was eye candy. I was giddy.
It really was. I thought it was such a good final episode. So they're pitting people who want to live forever, and Claudia brings Lestat a pair of twins. I loved that it was adult twins. I loved that it was still twins that she presented to him. And they kept talking about rosemary, smelling the rosemary. He's like, do you have rosemary? And they're like, yeah, we have it growing underneath the porch or whatever. And he brings it up again later. And then they were scandalous. Freaking Louis and Lestat were dancing together and they smooched. So it was no longer two weird brothers, obviously, because they're smooching.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're just even weirder, like Alabama brothers.
Yeah.
With the conversation that they had on the balcony before, it was just such a nice setup because that whole conversation was just gorgeous and again super poetic, and then it led into the dance, and I'm like, this is just, it's like when it comes crashing down, it's gonna be so much better.
Did y'all catch the chief of police in the hog mask?
Yes.
That's a nice touch.
That
I
was
like
nice.
that.
Yes.
The party was crazy, but you know, all parties come to an end, and the people who were left are the people who wanted to choose forever. And they tell this like haunting story about drinking the live forever waters.
If I can butt in, first of all, the Book of Abramelin, the mage, they pulled some top tier occult shit out their butt, these writers did. And they did it in a way that was like confusing enough. They mixed up a bunch of different stuff. And I think that, first of all, that would have totally been in Lestat's wheelhouse to know about those things, being as old as he was and being around that kind of stuff. And he absolutely would have fucked it up and made it into a bunch of word salad because he's talking to a bunch of fucking Normans and they don't know what's going on.
And he was also like doped up out of his mind because he'd been fasting, and he was all euphoric, and so like he was just talking nonsense, but it was just like it still sounded pretty.
It sounded great.
I think it really shows how much work they put into this as opposed to what they did for the movie. And then also let's bring it back to Queen of the Damned, the bullshit that they did because they held on to the rights for so long. They just smashed some fucking shit together.
Yep.
Don't do that. Art takes time. respect the shit we like, please. If you're gonna remake anything, you have to know, especially something like this.
Yeah.
There's a fandom attached to it. So if you're
Mhm.
gonna do a remake, do it well. There's fanfic, there's forums, okay? If you can't get the author themselves, get yourself like an assistant who is deep in the fandom. I'm thinking Becky in Supernatural, which she was obsessed with Chuck and the story, okay?
Yep.
That's who he needed by his side at the freaking convention, okay? I feel like these people have a responsibility to do right by the work and the author.
And that's the nice thing about mediums of like taking longer series like this and turning it into a TV show aside from the movie, because you have so much content. Like I had the same problem with the Snowman. Like
Mhm.
I love Joe Nesbo, and the Snowman was a bad Michael Fassbender movie. Problem is that was book 7 in the series they just decided to start with, and so everyone like hated this series. You know, you missed 13 years of content before that. And so I'm very bitter. Like I hate Scorsese because of it. Like I have an unnatural hatred for that man because he ruined that movie. You have so much content, so like doing the TV show was such a brilliant
Mhm.
move to kind of like revitalize it and then bring it into 2022.
We talked about that a lot in the first episode, and I always said I've been an Anne Rice fan for so freaking long. Okay, we talk about this all the time, and I have so many issues with both the movies they made. And I always say, just take the time and make a TV show. Like, don't skip the meat and potatoes. The world is just too big. It's just too massive. The story is just too much to shove it into a movie, especially.
I also think that they made very wise choices in what they left out. Anne Rice, for everything that I love about her, there's a very weird way that she treats kids and teenagers in a lot of these, and they made good choices with Mayfair too. I think getting rid of Michael, we all know I hate Michael. Michael's a bitch, and if I could go into any book and fight anyone, it would be Michael. But getting rid of Michael is good because nobody's gonna go after Mona Mayfair, I would hope. They chose to age Claudia up a couple years here. They chose to take the little boys out. They made a lot of wise choices, in my opinion. And also, Armand being more like Armand from the first movie was a wise choice as well, because the Armand that we know and love from the books is a 12-year-old. When they modernized it, they took out a lot of the yikes shit that I was having problems with as an Anne Rice fan reading it, and I appreciate that. I think somebody just sat her down and was like, listen, this isn't gonna go to TV. We just can't do that.
It's not PC, and they will come for you.
The party's over. They revealed the Philosopher's Stone is not in the thing.
The scene where mayhem ensues, right? And everybody's trying to save their lives and they realize that they're locked in. The most beautiful thing, the three of them emerging from this room in the white, covered in blood, is the most beautiful thing I think I've ever laid eyes on, okay? She was terrifying. Claudia was so fucking scary, and I was like, that's my girl, okay? Ate him up. Loved it. I said Claudia was hunting. Okay, she was the only one I could really look at. So the whole time she's communicating telepathically with Louis about stuff, and then Antoinette appears while there's one twin left, and Lestat's like, aha, I have another fledgling that you didn't know about, and she's been listening the whole time. And Claudia's like, got you, bitch. I'm very intelligent. You made me. I'm smart as hell, and I loved that. So he got poisoned by the laudanum and the arsenic.
I think it's more the fact that the person was dead, not so much the chemicals that would kill a person.
Right. Dead blood.
Yeah,
Dead
it's dead blood. But for me, the thing about all of that is actually when Claudia steps back and she's like, it's up to you to say goodbye now. And just the acting that we see out of Louis, just like the emotion. I was fucking crying. I hate Lestat. I was sitting there bawling my fucking eyes out. I have loved you with all of myself, he says. I'm happy it was you here with me, Lestat, as he's dying.
Ew.
That was very Frodo and Sam here at the end of all things.
Please.
That's what it felt like to me. My heart was
Don't touch
breaking.
me
I'm
in my
telling you.
Oh, stop it. I can't. I'm reliving it. It's replaying
Yes.
behind my eyes.
It is
but like,
emotionally scarring. If you have a heart at all.
loves the
and you
shit out of
watch this.
Lestat. Louis, he loved the shit out of Lestat. So afterwards, and Daniel's like talking shit about the missing pages, that whole scene, the whole end wrap up, it fucked me up so bad. I thought it was a nice touch that they didn't throw him in the swamp and that he was in his suitcase and he's talking about where do you take the trash? You take him to the dump, and the dump has rats that feed the vampire. And Louis is like fucked up, right? And I'm like, Daniel, shut the fuck up for 2 seconds. Like he's a lot for an old man. And like Louis keeping him alive. He's like, I got you fed. I got you up in a penthouse. I'm giving you medication. I got the finest doctor here for you, and all you can do is fucking bitch.
But he's a good catalyst.
Sorry.
He
I
really
would
is.
Yes.
And then we have the reveal that had me saying, I
Mhm.
fucking told you so, bitch! I told you so!
My chest.
Because
My
another
chest
thing I
hurts.
noticed when I watched it back today, because I hadn't watched it in a while, is that Armand wears gloves all the time, and that's to hide his fucking
Mhm.
nails.
Yeah,
Stop it right
I caught
now.
that at the tail end. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
I was too busy shrieking.
Yeah.
I'm not very observant when I'm hysterical. Bitch, when he floated up off the ground, I was like, no
Mhm.
fucking way. No fucking way. Elle already told me, but oh my god, this is unbelievable. Book nerds everywhere are shouting, and Armand is the love of his life. No, I have to wait.
Are they gonna make us wait a whole year?
I don't know, but I know that it was renewed for season 2, so
Mhm.
it's just a matter of time.
Late 2023 or early 2024.
It would
But
probably be again closer towards
Halloween.
fall.
That blows. I want it now.
Same, but I will be watching all of the episodes in a very condensed period of time this time because I can't wait. I was waiting for this show for so long, and we did an episode for Anne Rice when she passed away. It probably seems so dramatic to people, but I just remember being so sad, but also so grateful and so blessed that she had started working on the show already and that she was working on it with her son because, like, he's going to continue honoring her as the show goes on.
And it's so easy to get lost in it too. I sat down, I was like, I'm just gonna watch just the first episode, and then I watched the first 5 episodes, and it was 6 in the morning, and the sun was out, and I'm like, oh. And I had like every ounce of like strength I had to not just finish it in that one sitting. But it's a very phenomenally done show. The set pieces are great, the modernization's great, the casting is great. I'm very excited to see what comes next.
Same.
All the vampires are pretty.
I think Armand's my fave in this one.
Yeah.
He's hot.
He's
hot.
He's so beautiful. I can't take it. And so rageful and protective of his man.
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
yes, please, thank you. I love that. And like forever. That's just a dream. Forever.
Not me sitting over there going, man, look at all the architecture and like art in that penthouse. It's gorgeous. I'm like paying more attention to the penthouse. I was like, wow,
But
look
I
at the
mean-
architecture.
It's eye
Like,
catching,
That
yeah.
stuff,
It is.
yeah. But that stuff
But,
was
like-
also important to her.
Like the Francis Bacon paintings and the imagery of the set pieces they chose. It also tells like I'm a big fan of that sort of the set decor side of things and the costuming. I like it when it's
Very
still telling
nice.
a story when people are just wandering aimlessly through a hallway.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we all like to watch them wander.
You can really kind of see the passage of time through the sets because in some
Mhm.
ways they
Mhm.
don't really tell you until
No.
somebody like has a conversation and blurts it out. But
The-
you can kind of see it in the
And
background.
the costume designs, you can
Mhm.
see the evolution of fashion as it's
Mhm.
happening, which is such a nice touch too. And everything that Louis wears, like his frame
Oof.
is
Dapper.
stunning, and everything in the modern time with the all black ensemble that he wears. Like, I'm not paying attention to anything that's coming out of your mouth, sweetheart.
I had to rewind several times because I'm like just enraptured by what they're doing and their hands and the nails and just every like the eyes. They're just so good.
Yeah, I had to turn the closed captioning on so I could at least sort of pay attention to the story while I was like watching everything happen. So
It's so
Thank
dense
you.
too because again the script is brilliant. There are so many parts my mouth fell open for
Yeah.
like how
Mhm.
good it was written. Unfortunately, I will have to say the Mayfair one is not to this level.
I believe
but
it. And in the meantime, you can find this podcast on the interwebs at ghostmagazine.site or on Twitter at GITM Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at WitchXPudding.
And you can find me at Nocturnical.
And you can find me
Our-
at the May Be Mockingbird.
Perfecto. Okay, bye.